Welcome to the Behind the Girl Boss podcast, where every woman's journey takes center stage. Join us in this safe space as we explore the ins and outs of business, career, mental health, the music industry, and more. Whether you're a go-getter or a dream chaser, we've got stories for you. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok for an exclusive backstage pass. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and entertained. Welcome to the ride. Hey everyone, what is up and welcome to the podcast. Hello, hi. So little housekeeping notes. I decided to do like all the intros and outros just audio only, no video for that. So if you're watching the video component, you will just see a screen and some writing and stuff. And if you're not watching it on video, just hello, hi. I'm very excited for this episode, and this week I'm actually heading to New York on Saturday, so there will not be an episode next week. So take that time to like catch up on some old episodes, catch up on the YouTube channel, all the fun things. But yeah, I'm really excited for this episode. Before we get into it, let's do our little mantra of the day. Today's mantra is it's going to happen because I'm going to make it happen. I saw this and I was like, yeah, I feel that. I like that. And I resonate with it. So that's what we're going with. So it's going to happen because I'm going to make it happen. On today's episode, we have a fun guest. We have Monica on. Monica is the co-owner of Epic Dental, which is a brand that creates basically products to help prevent cavities. There's gum, there's mint, there's all the fun things, and she actually co-owns it with her husband, Donald, which I feel like is such a interesting but smart dynamic. And we spoke all about what it's like managing a business with your partner, what to do when you have disagreements, all the fun things. We spoke about what it's like running a business in general and being a woman in business and all that stuff. I really enjoyed this episode, and I think you guys will as well. So without further ado, let's jump right into the episode. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to the podcast. So today we have Monica with us. So hi, Monica.
Hi.
Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Monica Bailey. I'm the co-owner and entrepreneur behind the business Epic Dental. So we sell cavity prevention solutions. So it's cavity preventing gum, mints, toothpaste, mouthwash. And my husband and I actually run the company as a duo, which is super fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into that with you. But before we do that, I like to do a little hot seat segment to kind of just break the ice and know little fun facts.
Awesome.
Um, so the first one is if you could pick up and move anywhere, where would it be?
Ooh. I actually really like living in Utah. I love having four seasons. That's something that's a favorite
Mm-hmm.
of mine. I love the winter, I love the spring, the fall, the summer. So I would say if I moved somewhere else, I think somewhere like Switzerland that maybe has like a similar climate would be fun.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. The next one is do you have a life mantra or motto that you live by?
I would have to say, something that I think all the time and tell people constantly is to never ever take advice from someone unless they have already achieved the thing that you're working towards. So don't take advice from, family and friends and people around you, even though they might be very well intentioned. They're not going to know how to really advise you well unless they've already achieved that thing. And so be
Yeah.
very careful who you take advice from. And if they are not living the life that you want or the career that you want, they're not the right person to be seeking
Yeah.
advice from.
No, I love that. And then the last one is who's a celebrity or creator that always keeps you inspired?
There's a British creator. Her name is Lydia Millen. She does YouTube videos. She's on Instagram and TikTok now. But she and I have very similar tastes as far as like clothing,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of house stuff. Like she has a very classic, elegant style, which I really like. And she and I got into doing a kitchen garden right around the same time. And so it's like an herb garden and vegetables and things that you're going to be eating straight from the garden. And so she has the most beautiful kitchen garden that always inspires me.
Super cool. I haven't heard of her, but I'll definitely check her out. Um,
Yeah.
but going off like the internet and sharing things on the internet, I feel like a lot of us do share a lot online about who we are, our lives and everything, and I know you do as well. But what is
Mhm.
something that you do for fun that many people may not know that you actually do?
Mm. I would say so. I have kind of like some unusual hobbies. Like I don't have
Hmm.
any of the like interesting, fun, traditional kinds of hobbies, but things that really feed me are like I love to organize, but I like to do it when I'm completely alone. I'll I'll make sure there's like no one in that part of the house, or I'll do it when no one's home, and I'll put on, a movie that I love that I've seen 100 times, and I'll just like, organize a particular space so it's immaculate. Like I love to have, every drawer that you open be perfectly organized. I just find that really fun. So that's really relaxing for me. I also really like cooking and baking and trying to take like a recipe that I've tried in a restaurant and figure out if I can
Hmm.
copy it and replicate it at home. I love to do that.
Awesome. Yeah. I watch a lot of people online like do organizing things, and there's just something about it that's so satisfying.
Right? It's satisfying and it's like mesmerizing to watch it, especially when it's sped up.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so you were talking about how you're an entrepreneur and you own your own business with your partner. Growing up, did you always envision yourself in the business world, or did you have a completely different path?
No, it was completely different for me. I didn't know anyone that was an entrepreneur. It seemed very scary to me. It seemed so
Mm-hmm.
risky. I knew nothing about it. So I came from a family of doctors, lawyers, local politicians, things like that. And so that was kind of what I knew. And so as I explored different careers, I had a huge passion for science. And so I looked at some different things, shadowed people, and really wanted to go to medical school. That was the path I had chosen. I was super passionate about it. So I worked in a hospital kind of all throughout college as a phlebotomist drawing blood, and was working on, my degree. So I studied biology and chemistry in college and just absolutely loved, anything medicine and science.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never really saw this coming, but it's funny how life kind of takes you to a completely different place that you never would have
Yeah.
expected. And I had no idea that this was my dream career. It was something I'd never been exposed to. And after meeting my husband and kind of seeing like what it was to be an entrepreneur, I felt so out of my element, didn't know if I could do it, and jumped in with both feet and found a place where I have thrived more than anything else. Like I have
Mm-hmm.
absolutely loved it. And so I've been able to pull from, what I learned in college about the sciences, what I learned from working in a hospital about, SOPs and quality metrics and things like that, that I pulled in from all of my experience into what I do now, because it is a very science-based product. But I never would have seen this coming. I never expected to go into business with my spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Total twist for me.
And when did you gain like an interest for the like oral hygiene world?
Yeah. So I would say it was really, kind of started on, I think it was my second date with my husband, actually. So he had already started Epic. He had founded the business. It had grown steadily over, the first couple years, but hadn't really reached anywhere close to where it's at now.
Mm-hmm.
And we were on a second date, and he was telling me about these products that he's developed and what they do. And I had been a person that had had cavities, all throughout my teen years, my early 20s. I had asked multiple dentists, like, well, hey, I have really great hygiene. I'm so great at brushing and flossing. Why am I still getting cavities? This is so frustrating. And I had one dentist literally just shrug and be like, it happens sometimes. Maybe try and floss more. Like it was such a useless
Yeah.
response. I tried a different dentist, and same thing. They're just like, oh, well, try and brush and floss more. And I felt like I had no way out. And I was just completely disillusioned with dentistry and was like, well, why even go back to the dentist? I don't know what the point is, because I feel fine. And then I go and they say I have a cavity and there's no solutions to be found there. So my husband and I were on this second date, and he's telling me about the products, and I was floored. I was like, there's a way out of the cavity cycle. I had no idea that was even an option. And so he's like, okay, stop right there. We're going to go to my warehouse. I'm going to get you some samples and try it out. And so for me, that was groundbreaking to realize there was a way out of it, because I had just
Yeah.
accepted it as a fact of life. And so then, kind of watching him work in the business, I started to learn more and more about it. And then I think really through that, I became very passionate about it. And then once he invited me into the business and said, hey, I really need your skill set to take this to the next level. Will you come join me in this and run this as co-owners with me? That's when I dove into like a lot of the literature, really learning
Mm-hmm.
about the product and how it works and the science behind it. And it was amazing to me that there was such an easy solution that had decades of scientific research behind it, but it wasn't widely known because the big oral care companies benefit from you not knowing about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, for sure. And when you met your husband and you went to the warehouse and everything, how far along was the business already?
So I think he was maybe, I'd have to do the math. It was probably like 8 years in to the
Okay.
business, somewhere around there. So he'd been doing it for quite a while. He'd had a few different business partners that hadn't really panned out, and he bought them out during the process and just was struggling
Mm-hmm.
to find something that was really working. So he was wearing way too many hats, was stressed all the time, felt like he wasn't getting what he wanted out of the team. And so then I kind of watched that for the first couple of years of our marriage while I was working in a separate business. I was helping a startup company that had a product for athletes. It was like a powder that was like an anti-chafing powder for athletes. I was helping them get off the ground, and he's watching me do that. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, you have the exact skill set that I need to cover all the gaps.
Yeah.
And what I know how to do as an entrepreneur, come work with me."
No, I love that. So Epic Dental specializes in, I have no idea how to say that word. Um,
Xylitol.
yes, that sweetened products. What is the main ingredient in all this, and how does it actually help?
Yeah, so xylitol is kind of the magic ingredient of all the products, and we pack in as much as we possibly can into each formula. And so xylitol, it's a sweetener that comes from plants. So you
Okay.
find it naturally occurring in like raspberry plants, in the corn husks. Of the corn plant, you can find it in birch bark. You can find it all over the place. It's even naturally produced in your body during certain biochemical reactions, and so it's really, really incredible. But what happens is they've found that when you have xylitol in the mouth, it completely changes your oral care story. So, part of what's critical is to understand where cavities are actually coming from and then how xylitol plays a role. So, most people don't realize that cavities are not caused by sugar. They're not caused by, weak teeth or weak enamel or genetics. Like all of those are old wives' tales and myths that we've been told all growing up that have no
Yeah.
real basis in reality. And so cavities are caused by acid, and there's two main sources of acid in your mouth. One is from the foods and drinks you consume. And so, every time you have a sip of a drink or you have a bite of something, there's a good chance it has acid in it. That's what makes food and drinks taste good. And so it's in soda, it's in salad dressings, it's in tomatoes, raspberries, lemons. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even a lot of really healthy foods have a high acidity to them because it makes it taste really, really good. But what happens is that acid breaks down the calcium phosphate bonds in your teeth. So every time you have a sip of a drink or a bite of something to eat, you're introducing acid that's then breaking down the bonds in your teeth. The other source of acid is from acid producing bacteria. So everyone has a bunch of different kinds of bacterial strains in their mouth. Some are good for you, some are not so good for you. So strep mutans is the main one that dentists and dental researchers are really concerned about when it comes to cavities, because what strep mutans does is it will break down the food molecules in your mouth, and it will produce acid as a byproduct. So some people don't have that strain of bacteria. So the people that say, "Oh, I've never had a cavity in my whole life and I don't even have to try that hard at brushing," they probably don't have any strep mutans, and they just got really, really lucky. Most
Yeah.
of us have been exposed to it either from our family or from someone we've kissed or shared a spoon with along the way, and we have the strep mutans bacteria. And so then it's constantly putting acid on our teeth. So when you understand that it's an acid problem, you can treat the problem very differently. What's cool about xylitol is, one, it buffers against acid by getting your saliva flowing, that sweetness in your mouth, from xylitol, because it's sweet like sugar. It looks and tastes like
Mm-hmm.
sugar. That gets your salivary glands going. And so that's going to produce all of the saliva that then washes minerals over your teeth so they can redeposit. And it helps kind of get your saliva back to a neutral pH. And so saliva is absolutely critical for a healthy mouth. The other thing xylitol does is it actually kills off strep mutans bacteria. And so it will leave all of your healthy bacteria completely unharmed, and it specifically targets the ones that you don't want to have. The reason why is because they love xylitol. It's like chocolate cake to them. So they'll look at all their food options. They will pick xylitol every single time and preferentially select it over other food sources, but they can't break it down. So over time, they actually starve to death and die off in your mouth, leaving the good bacteria behind. And so it attacks cavities and acid from all different directions, which is so incredible.
So many scientific terms, but it's true. Like
Yeah.
when I was younger, growing up, like whenever I would go to the dentist, all they would say is, "Don't eat sugar. Like that's what gives you cavities and stuff." I'm like,
Mhm.
sometimes I would try and avoid it, but I still had cavities. So I was like, this makes absolutely no sense. Um,
Right?
Yeah,
And
and
it's
like
not realistic to just say, "Oh, I'm never
mhm.
gonna eat anything with sugar. I'm never gonna eat
Yeah, because
something
there's sugar
that
in
had
so many
acid."
things.
Yeah, it's just not realistic.
No, for sure. But since a lot of the products that you guys carry are like consumed, like there's mints and gums and things like that that go into your mouth and you consume it.
Yeah.
Is there like a type of testing that has to go on before that they can be sold?
Yeah, so what happens is on every batch that we produce, they send samples out to get third-party testing to make sure that
Okay.
there's no heavy metals, there's no bacteria that, that you don't want any bacteria in your food or you're going to get sick,
Yeah.
to make sure that there's not like any contaminants of any kind. So
Hmm.
that happens on every single batch just to make sure that that's good. And if it's out of range, then it's okay, destroy the whole batch and start over. So that's one thing that we do. But when it comes to a lot of those products, there's actually not a ton of regulations when it comes to like the FDA and what they require,
Okay.
unless it's a drug product. So we do have a fluoride toothpaste. And so that has, much more regulations that we have to follow because it has the fluoride ingredient in it.
Hmm.
But I feel like really the big things that we look at are making sure it's produced in a very, very clean environment. So we do get regular inspections from the Utah Department of Agriculture and Health, from the FDA, they come by. And it's always kind of a fun day. I think most companies absolutely dread it and they're in a panic when an auditor comes by, but we get kind of excited because we pass with flying colors every single
Hmm.
time. Like they leave being like, this is the most clean facility we've ever seen. And we get to feel pretty special when that happens. So
Oh, I love that. At the moment, what would you say is your best-selling product?
So I would say the gum is probably the most popular, and peppermint is kind of our biggest selling flavor, with spearmint falling
Hmm.
after that.
And right now, is your products only sold online or are they also in like retail stores?
Yeah, so we've got it all over. So you can get on Amazon. I think that's, the easiest way to do
Hmm.
it, especially if you're new and you want to just try it out, because you can do Amazon Prime. It's on our website, epicdental.com. If you do order on the website, the nice thing is you can get like a 10% off coupon with your first order, which is always a plus. And then we have free shipping, over a certain amount. You can also get it in a lot of the natural products retailers. So it's in Whole Foods, it's in um, Good Earth here in Utah. Trying to think where else. Any of those kind of health food stores,
Hmm.
most of them will carry the product. So that's another great place to find it.
Awesome. So what would you say is your favorite part about being a co-owner for a business?
So I would say, I mean, there's so many things I could answer. I could talk your ear off
Hmm.
for hours about that. But one of my favorite things is that we can do things our way. I think when you're working for a company, especially a really big company, there's all these layers of bureaucracy and things
Yeah.
you have to get approved and things they don't let you do. And we can just say, hey, we're going to run this thing the best possible way. And so if someone on our team has a great idea, we can say, okay, let's implement that. Or if there's
Yeah.
something that we want to have run a certain way because it's more efficient, we can just do it however we want. And so I think that freedom to say, hey, we're going to make it the highest quality product we can. We're going to make our team culture incredible so people love to work here. We're going to make things run really smoothly by having a killer process behind everything we do. Like all of that's within our power because we get to be the owners and the deciders of that. So
Yeah.
it's a lot more responsibility, but I think the freedom to choose that comes with that is amazing, and I would never
Hmm.
trade that.
Yeah. And on the flip side, what would you say has been the biggest lesson that you've learned so far?
Oh, so many. I mean, I think one thing that's really surprising to a lot of people before they become an entrepreneur and that they can relate to after the fact is how often you have people screw you over. I think that's something that you
Hmm.
don't see coming, that people never ever talk about. People want to talk
Yeah.
about like the glamorous side of being an entrepreneur and all the freedom that comes with it, but they don't talk about the fact that, you're waking up at 2 a.m. stressing about your business, or the fact that you'll have people that you think had your back that don't have your back. Like
Yeah.
so many stories that I could tell about that where, like you expect people to kind of keep their word to you or show up in a certain way and they don't. I think sometimes people look at the business and they see your success and they feel almost a sense of entitlement to be like, hey, I can cut corners, or I can take whatever I
Yeah.
want, or I can not keep my commitment to you, because they feel like oh, because you've achieved this, it's okay for me to do that. And so it's been really baffling to me to watch some people's behavior, like people you would never ever expect. And so
Yeah.
I think that's something that no one ever anticipates, that it's like, hey, you're trying to do good to your team, do good to your customers, and then the amount of people that don't necessarily see that as a two-way street has really surprised me.
Yeah. And I liked what you said too, because I also own my own business and it's always so glamorized. Like the entrepreneur life is glamorized in so many
Right.
ways. And people think that like it's just easy all the time. And it's really not. Like there's obviously a lot of pros that come with it, but there's also cons that do come with it, like any job at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like online it's glamorized a little bit too much sometimes.
Right, yeah, it's the hardest thing you will ever do, but there's so many benefits that make it
Yeah.
so worth it, and so it's like this love-hate kinda thing.
Yeah, 100%. So right now, what's kind of like the marketing plan that you guys have going on? Because of course you are big and you're already in retail stores and all that, but at the end of the day, I feel like every business to stay afloat and stay alive needs to have like
Mm,
a marketing plan. So what's yours?
yeah. So for us, really, the last year has been all about social media. It's something that we, had never really gotten into,
Mm-hmm.
because we had healthy channels, multiple healthy sales
Yeah.
channels. And I've been kind of trying to convince my husband for years, like, hey, we've got to get on social media. There's so much opportunity there. And for him, like, he couldn't quite see what that was. And
Yeah.
so it took me a while to really convince him. And we had a couple interesting things happen where we had there was a lady who was a biochemist. She has a PhD and she talks a lot about like biohacking and stuff like that. And she talked about xylitol gum and the benefits for women during pregnancy, specifically to make sure they're having healthy teeth and to make sure their kids are having healthy teeth.
Mm-hmm.
And so she talked about a study that showed that women that are pregnant that chew xylitol gum, their kids, even if they never chew xylitol gum, have way less cavities than the ones that don't. And so she mentioned just a quick story on a Joe Rogan podcast, and our sales went through the roof that week. And we're like, where is this coming from? It took us a couple
Yeah.
of weeks to figure out why we had that bump. And then about a year later, we had a guy make a TikTok video where he was just a customer. He had no following on TikTok, but he mentioned our product specifically about how it helped him get out of the cavity cycle. And it got a million views. And same thing, we were like, where are these sales coming from? We
Yeah.
sold, I think, like an extra $80,000 of product just in a week on top of what we normally do. And we're like, okay, this is really, really cool. There's something here that's really powerful. And that was the first time I had ever gotten on TikTok because, I'm in my
Mm-hmm.
30s. Like I thought TikTok was more for teens. So I logged on and was like, okay, I need to figure out what this is all about. So for the last year, we've put out a daily video on TikTok and on Instagram, and that has produced incredible growth for our business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of businesses try that and fail because they don't really understand how to market on those
Yeah.
platforms. But we're still pretty new at it, but we've gotten our sea legs and we've seen just instant results from that. So that's really what we're trying to do this year is double down on that, continuing to kind of put out the daily video and to focus on giving value and education and information first so that then people can come and learn all the things that their dentist may or may not be telling them so that they can take control of their own oral health, and giving that information freely on social media has attracted so many customers. So we're going to keep doing that.
Yeah. And I feel like TikTok has become like kind of like the new Google for like a lot of the like
Right?
younger generation too. Like sometimes when I want to search something up, I literally go on TikTok because I just like to see
Yeah.
visuals sometimes and like someone explaining it to me rather than me having to read it. So I do think like it's a really good marketing tool.
Oh, absolutely.
So we have mentioned a few times that you do work with your husband. What would you say that experience is like? Because I know like sometimes you can butt heads or things like that. So how does that
Right.
dynamic work?
Yeah, so it's been really, really interesting. I think at the beginning it was really hard because I was coming into a business that he had already
Mm-hmm.
created, and I'm seeing all the places where there's inefficiencies, where the company culture was far from what it should be, things that were just not going well. And that's really a lot of my role in the company, is to make sure that it's running well. And so I run the team day to day. All of them report directly to me. He's kind of off to the side doing his own thing. And so me moving everything, and some people were upset, some people loved it. Like, that caused a sense of panic at him at the beginning. And
Yeah.
so it took a minute for him to kind of realize, like, oh, this is why you're moving things here. And I mean, the business was transformed within 12 months. It was a completely different place. And we've been able to kind of maintain an incredible company culture and processes since then. But I think part of what's really interesting about when you are working with your partner in a business is you've got nowhere to run. I think a lot of times when people have different workplaces, it's easier to be like, oh, I have to go to work, and you don't talk about the stuff that
Yeah.
needs to be talked about. But when you're together 24/7, there's nowhere to run. And so really the best thing you can do is to lean into, hey, let's face the stuff that feels hard. Let's face the friction. Let's face the discomfort and talk about it and work out, how are we going to do this differently? And so I feel like it's been transformative, even just with our marriage,
Yeah.
because you're actually facing the stuff, you're solving the things to figure out how to do it better. And so that means it's going to be a lot harder in the short term, but it's so much better in the long term. I feel like we've had growth as individuals that we wouldn't have had, because we've had to really lean into, hey, we want to have a great marriage and we want to be great partners in this business. And so you've got to face the hard and work it out and stay on the same page. And so that has ugly moments, but if you aren't afraid of the ugly moments and you can push through those because you can see what you get to on the other side,
Yeah.
then you get so far with that.
Yeah. And you were speaking about company culture. What would you say the company culture is like there, and what's the most important thing?
Yeah. So we've actually got 6 core values that we've used to kind of define the culture, because I think what happens is most businesses don't define what they're looking for with the culture. They don't even know what it is. And so they're not hiring and firing according to what that culture should be, because they have no idea what they're even
Yeah.
trying to create. And what happens is you're always going to have a company culture that evolves. And if you're not doing it intentionally, you're going to have an unintentional culture that somehow develops, and it might be good, it might be terrible. And so rather than leaving that up to chance, we said, okay, let's really define what we want this to be, because I feel like an incredible company culture is a gift that I give to every person that works here. They deserve to work in an
Hmm.
incredible environment with people that they can count on, that are supportive. And so we went through, okay, let's talk about all the employees that Epic has ever had, which ones were really truly incredible? What made them stand out? Why were they so special? And then we took that and we kind of, condensed it down into these 6 core values. And so, really, the short version to describe the culture is um, it's a mix of collaborative with people taking radical ownership of their role. So that
Hmm.
makes them really, really great team players, because they are they're managing their own area super, super well. And they're taking that ownership, but they also know how to be team players and support each other and collaborate where it's useful. And so I think that, combined with radical transparency, and a really open communication style, is kind of what our culture is like. And so if there's an issue or someone's frustrated or stressed, we talk about it. Like, there is
Yeah.
nothing that's going to hide behind something. There's nothing that's going to hide in the layers of the company. Everything is completely open and talked about. And so if someone's saying, hey, I really don't like this process and it irritates me every time I have to do it, then they know they can come talk to me about it. And we look at, what are the other options of how we could do this? Do you have an idea on how to make it better? Or if they notice, hey, someone on the team is not pulling their weight and it's causing impacts on other seats, we have those open conversations so we can coach that person from where they are to where we want them to be.
Yeah. No, I love that. And talking about owning a business and everything, how do you kind of balance everything you have going on in your life with being a mom, being a wife, having a social life, and
Yeah.
even just having time for yourself to just do nothing and relax and chill? How do you balance it all?
Yeah. That is the million-dollar question, and it's so hard. I don't know that I have it all figured out, but, I think sometimes you have to be comfortable with the discomfort of it being out of balance. Like, I don't think I've ever hit a place where I'm like, everything is perfectly balanced and flowing and it all feels great. Like, I don't know that I've ever
Hmm.
hit that. And so in some ways, I think that's kind of a fantasy. But I think what you do hit is an understanding of where you're needed. And so you kind of have to ebb and flow with what everything needs. And so there's times where I know, hey, my kids need more from me right now. And so, I kind of have to lessen what I'm doing in the
Yeah.
business to show up for my kids because they absolutely deserve that and they need to have that support. There's other times where it's like, hey, this is crunch time at the business because of what we have going on. And so, I have to kind of set up some things so that, my kids are happy and they have something to do so I can focus more in the business. And so I think you really have to be just very self-aware of like, how are all of these things going and where am I needed most? So you can kind of pivot around and respond to whatever's needed. But I think one of the best things that I ever did for myself and for my own happiness, because I think, I was hitting burnout over and over again,
Mhm.
feeling like, hey, I'm trying to be everywhere, I'm trying to do everything, and I was just exhausted. And so I started looking at, okay, well, what do I actually need? Because the whole point of having a business, beyond helping your customers and giving them a real solution to a problem is also to give you the life that you've wanted.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're trying to do is to build that life. And so if you're not happy in it, there's a gap. And so the best thing I did was I looked at what are the different vibes that I need to be in as an individual to feel fulfilled and happy and feel like my life is in balance. Because if I feel in balance on the inside, it's easier for me to bring balance to the team and to everything that I'm managing day to day. So I kind of went through and said, okay, there's a couple different vibes that I need to be in to feel like myself. And if one of those three things is missing, then I feel horribly out of balance and I struggle to perform everywhere. And
Yeah.
so once I gave each of those vibes a name and said, okay, this is really who I am as a combination of these three vibes. And so for me, the first one is kind of that boss babe energy of like running a business, conquering, building that empire. The second one is that mothering energy of feeling like I'm showing up for my family, I'm taking care of them, I'm investing in those relationships. That's really important to me. And the third one is kind of that like feminine goddess kind of energy is what I call it. And that's really like taking care of myself as an individual, having time to get
Mhm.
my nails done or being able to wear, heels to the office, even if it's
Yeah.
impractical. Like that is something that feeds me. And so every woman is going to have their own combination of vibes that really make up who they are. And when you can identify them enough that you can give them a name, then you can stop and ask yourself and say, okay, which one of these is out of balance? Where am I feeling a gap? And so I can say, hey, I'm really not making time for like that feminine goddess energy. I need to
Yeah.
put time into my schedule to focus on that so that I can feel balanced and fed. Or, hey, I feel like I'm really not getting enough time at the office. What do I need to do to increase that? Like you can just kind of play with that. So
Mhm.
for me, that's the closest I've ever come to balance is balancing those vibes with me. And that makes my world feel balanced.
Yeah. No, I love that. Great answer. I know, like, it's hard, and I don't think anyone in the entire world has ever found a perfect balance. And I think it's always just going to
Right.
be a work in progress for everyone.
Right.
So the last part of our podcast, I asked people on Instagram to ask questions, and I picked three of my favorite ones. So the first one is, what advice would you give to someone wanting to start their own business?
Yeah. Oh, I love that because I mean, there's so many things that I could say and, wish that I could just talk to that person for 2 hours straight
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much to know. But I think the biggest thing I would start with is to know and understand where you're bringing natural strengths and talents and where you have really, really big gaps because every entrepreneur is going to have enormous gaps and enormous talents. And so when you can identify what that is, you can find employees or partners or people in your business to help fill those gaps. And so you have to be incredibly self-aware to know what those are. And so when it comes to things that people are good at, a lot of times people say, okay, well, what do you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
That might not be what you're good at. And so you have to be very aware of that. And so, there's kind of two ways to learn how to be good at something. One is just natural talent that's built into you. And those are the things that you do unconsciously. So for example, my supply chain manager, she is incredibly detail oriented. And for her, it takes no effort at all. Like we joke about how she has this eagle eye where she can take a look at anything and I've maybe proofread it 10 times and she can find three typos
Mm-hmm.
with no effort whatsoever. And so for her, she thinks, well, shouldn't everyone be able to do this? This is so easy. No, that is a natural talent she has that is completely unconscious. And so when you're aware where you have those skills and where your team has those skills, plug people into those places to cover gaps, and you want to have people that have different natural talents than you do to cover the gaps that you're
Yeah.
leaving. The second category are skills that you can build. And so you have to think about, okay, where are you willing to build skills and where are you really disinterested in building skills? So for example, with my husband Donald, he doesn't love managing people. It's not something that comes naturally to him.
Mhm.
And he's absolutely capable of building those skills, but he's never had any interest. And so rather than kind of
Mhm.
forcing that, he's like, okay, I need someone that's going to understand how to do that really, really well. And that is a place where I have natural talents.
Yeah.
I love to lead, manage, hold people accountable. It's intuitive to me where I don't even have to really think it through. And there's things that I just know that then I read about it in a book later and I'm like, oh, I've been doing that for years because it
Yeah.
was so natural to me. And so I think having people you can partner with that have those different skill sets is huge. But then there's going to be places where you're like, hey, I have to cover some of these gaps, especially when you're starting out and you don't have the budget for a whole staff of people. There's things that you just have to learn how to do. And so when you're building a skill, that is when you are taking the thing and reverse engineering how it's supposed to happen and then teaching yourself how to do that thing. So that's stuff that you're doing consciously. So when you know what things you do unconsciously very, very well, the things you're willing to learn how to do consciously and build the skill and put effort into that, that covers everything that you're going to be capable of covering. And then look outside of that. Where are the gaps? Where are the things that I just never want to learn or I'm always going to be bad at no matter how hard I try? Those are the places where your team can fill in those gaps, and being
Yeah.
very aware of where those are mitigates against risk.
Yeah. Love that. The next one is what keeps you going every day when you lack motivation?
So, motivation is an interesting thing because I think it feels really good when you have motivation and
Yeah.
then you can act. I would say the chances of that happening on any given day as an entrepreneur is probably like 1 to 5%. Like, and so I think there is some amount of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so
Mhm.
when you have a bigger why behind something, even if you're not feeling motivated, you're not feeling inspired, you're not wanting to do that thing, you can still have a reason to show up. And so for me, a lot of that is caring about my team, knowing that they're depending on me as a leader, that they have questions that they need answered, that they need to feel support to be happy at work. That really pushes me because there's days where I'm like, hey, I don't want to do work today. I want to just go to the spa or go do
Yeah.
something completely unrelated because I'm so tired. But knowing that I've got a team of people here that depend on me and that need that support from me, or they're going to be having an increased amount of stress, that really pushes me. And so I think kind of knowing, okay, what are the things that really, really matter that you can never ever risk, and kind of building a list of those makes a big difference to be like, hey, my
Yeah.
customers are depending on me or my team is depending on me, can help you kind of push through that. But I think taking the emotion out of it and saying, I don't have to feel a certain way in order to achieve a certain thing or do a certain thing is really, really powerful. And to say, hey, I'm going to do a thing even though I don't feel like that is what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And so one method that's really powerful for that, it's called eat the frog. And so the idea is you take the thing that you have been avoiding, that you don't want to do, that you are absolutely dreading, and you do that first thing in the day, because then it lessens the amount of time you dread it. Because the longer you put it off, the bigger that thing grows, the scarier
Yeah.
it becomes. But if you do it now, then you can eat the frog, the thing you don't want to eat that's unpleasant. And then after that, you can move on to a sandwich or cake or whatever
Yeah.
is fun to eat. And so when you stack your day that way and learn to not avoid, but to face the things, those things become a lot less scary
Yeah.
and a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah. No, I love that. And then the last question is what's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
So I think it kind of depends on like where I'm feeling that stress.
Yeah.
There's a book called The Seven Types of Rest that I really like, and it talks about how there's different ways we can be fatigued. So kind of identifying which one is the place
Mhm.
that I have a gap, and fitting that. Because sometimes I just want to go on a date night with my husband and eat some great
Yeah.
food and relax without kids and not talk about work and just be there with my favorite person, is really great. There's other days where I'm like, no one talk to me, and I literally
Mhm.
just want to get in a bubble bath and watch Netflix and do
Yeah.
nothing else. So I think it really depends, but I think it's usually people that I love, food that I love, or having some alone time to recharge.
Yeah, love that. Well, that's all I had for you today. So thank you so much again for coming on. Before you leave, do you want to shout out any of your socials, the company socials, where people can buy things?
Yeah, so on Instagram and TikTok, it's epic.dental is our company account. We also have an account for Donald and I as a couple where we just share kind of like life advice and things that have helped us along our journey. And I think it's the Baileys.official is what it's called on both Instagram and TikTok. And then you can look for our products on Amazon or on epicdental.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I really do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to go follow Monica and the Epic Dental and the Baileys on all their socials. Go show them some love, go show them some support. If you want to follow me, please don't be shy. You can follow me either at Behind the Gross or at It's Manawan. Don't forget to also check out my YouTube channel, It's Manawan. I'll be posting a New York vlog very soon. And speaking of New York, just a reminder, I will not be posting an episode next week because I will be out of town and just wanted to enjoy myself and not have to think about work in any capacity. So I will see you guys again in March. And yeah, thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe or follow, rate the podcast, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.